everyone, Midits here. I am back with another video in the sponsored Minecraft server review series, and today we are talking about a classic. Before the beginning of this series, this was easily my favorite server of all time, and that honor belongs to Cubecraft, which I have played countless times across the history of my channel. But Cubecraft gained some strong competition with the previous server, The Hive. It is just a consistently incredible server with a ginormous variety for everyone. So now, with this video, we will see if Cubecraft still has what it takes to come out on top. I hope you all enjoy, and let's get straight into this. I was actually surprised to learn that since the last time I had played on this server, 2 new minigames were added. Those minigames are Bed Wars and Pillars of Fortune, along with Egg Wars, Sky Wars, Lucky Blocks, Battle Arena, Block Wars, Skyblock, Minerware, Parkour, and Survival Games. There's a grand total of 11 minigames on this server. While this is less than the Hive's 13 minigames, we still need to look at the minigames properly before deciding which one is truly better. Since they are both new, I'll talk about Bed Wars and Pillars of Fortune first. Bed Wars is a staple of Minecraft minigames, but I will admit that it is a tad odd seeing it here, since Egg Wars is essentially just the same game. I think it's a fine addition, but there are definitely other options which would have felt more meaningful. Talking about the game mode on its own though, it's a solid rendition of Bed Wars. I've never been the biggest fan of the game because it can often have a lot of boring waiting periods, but if you enjoy Bed Wars, this is going to be a great experience for you. The second minigame, Pillars, is something that I've never seen before on any of the other servers, so I should probably explain it. The game begins with everyone spawning on a bedrock pillar and randomly getting different blocks and items. You can get basically anything that you can carry in Minecraft, and then you must knock off other players until you're the last one standing. This game can get really hectic, and you can be dealt an awful hand, which leads to other players knocking you off nearly instantly. But this is not that bothersome, since these games are usually super short, and you can move on to the next round, hope for better luck, and formulate a new strategy. This definitely feels like a game that would be great to play for short bursts in between longer minigames, and I think it is definitely a worthwhile addition to the server. Out of these 2 new minigames is Egg Wars, and there's honestly not much to say about this one that I have not already said about Bed Wars. It is not for me personally, but if you like these types of games, you'll get a great time with them. But if Bed Wars does become a permanent minigame on Cubecraft though, I would not be surprised if more people begin playing that, since it's far more iconic and recognizable than Egg Wars. After this, we have the iconic Sky Wars minigame, and since there's not a lot of unique stuff to say about it, let me talk about a difference I feel between Cubecraft and the Hive. The Hive definitely has a more hardcore player base, where nearly everyone feels like an extremely experienced player, while Cubecraft is much more casual. You may gravitate to one server over the other, depending on the playstyle that you prefer. I certainly enjoy the more relaxed feeling of playing on Cubecraft, but I can see myself sometimes having moments where I would rather go on the Hive. And if you are wondering why I'm only comparing these servers, I'm going to be honest and say that while there have been other good servers, none of the ones that I've talked about so far come even close to the quality level of these 2. And that just really speaks to how incredible both of these servers are. Next up is a game mode similar to what we just talked about, but one extra thing is added to the formula to make it exciting: Lucky Blocks. Lucky Blocks is practically the same thing as Sky Wars, but as the name suggests, you can find Lucky Blocks across the map that you can open and obtain a wildly random assortment of items. Some of them can be regular items, and some can completely change the game in either positive or negative ways for you. The Lucky Blocks add so much to the game that, unlike Egg Wars and Bed Wars, these 2 game modes manage to feel distinct enough that there's a good reason for wanting to choose one over the other. There's Sky Wars for a standard combat experience, and Lucky Blocks when you want something fun and unexpected. While there are 11 minigames according to the Cubecraft menu selection, that is not 100% accurate. Battle Arena, for example, has 2 very different minigames you can play. The first is Free For All, where you can choose kits that determine what weapons and armor you get. Then you are thrown to a map with a ton of other players where anyone can fight each other at any time. If you lose a fight and die, you can swiftly choose another kit and rejoin the game. The game does not have a proper conclusion, so it ends when you decide to leave. This is definitely a highlight on the server for me because it is extremely replayable, and with a decently wide selection of kits to choose from, you can play this game mode over and over again thanks to the completely different strategies that allow to keep this game feeling fresh. The second part of Battle Arena is called Duels, and there are actually 2 distinct versions of this also. First is where you fight either random people or your friends in a 1v1 or 2v2 matches. The other part of Duels is similar, except you can play smaller versions of other minigames such as Egg Wars, Lucky Blocks, Sky Wars, Capture the Flag, and Bridges. It is a fun little game mode that is great for playing with a friend group, or if you're tired of playing the larger regular versions of those minigames. One thing I want to quickly give my complaint about, though, is the amount of friends you can have per group. At first, this was a minor thing that bugged me, but I liked it even less the more research I did into it. You can only have a group of 4 people, including yourself, in a party. That is, unless you increase your VIP levels. How do you do that, you ask? Well, by purchasing Cubecraft content, of course. I'm not really a huge fan of locking this behind a paywall, and I definitely think that is a huge detractor from Cubecraft if you want to play Minecraft with a larger group of people. Here's another instance of one game mode having very distinct minigames, including one of my all-time favorites, Block Wars. This contains the drastically different minigames of Capture the Flag and Bridges. I love Capture the Flag, like I said in my previous video, and there are so many unique ways to play this game that there is rarely going to be a moment where the game feels boring, especially when you play this game with people you know and all come together to form a strategy. I would not be surprised in the slightest if this was my most played Minecraft minigame ever. After that is Bridges, which, while I prefer Capture the Flag, is still incredibly entertaining. This iteration of the game is so much more fun than the Hive's version, it hurts. Normally you have 10 players across 2 teams. You have to get either 25 points, or at least the most points by 15 minutes before the game ends. Unlike in the Hive's Bridges, the game keeps going after you score, and you are the only one sent to the beginning. This leads to an incredibly chaotic experience that few other games manage to capture because there is always something going on while playing this game. I have never seen a better place to play this type of game mode anywhere else other than Cubecraft. Next up is one of the few major minigames not on the Hive called Skyblock. This is a wonderful addition to Cubecraft because Skyblock is drastically different from all the other combat-based minigames. In case you do not know, it is a game where you start on an island with only the bare essentials that allow you to get more resources. You then have to complete tasks, earn rewards, and eventually more islands. It is a far more chill game that does not require you to constantly be focused on gameplay, and it is a great contrast to some of the other games found on the server. With Skyblock, you can relax and just casually harvest the items you need to progress. Mineware is a Minecraft minigame that exists, no matter how hard I try to pretend it does not. I am sorry, this is really harsh, but I have never once found any enjoyment out of this game mode. That does not mean it is terrible, it is just not my taste. I can definitely see why other people might enjoy this though. It is a collection of 15 minigames per game with a final boss round at the end. The minigames are all very distinct from anything else on the server, and they're very bite-sized in length. These minigames are randomly selected, and whoever has the most points by the end wins. I do not have a great explanation for why I dislike this minigame, besides just finding it boring, but that definitely should not discourage you from trying it yourself, because I am probably a rare case with my opinions regarding this game. Parkour is what it sounds like. It is genuinely impressive how much content there is to go through here, and I know that I have not even scratched the surface of all this has to offer. You can play by yourself and try to beat the levels either normally or while completing certain challenges to get medals. You can also play against other players to try to get better times in them. This is another game you can really sink your time into if you want, and while Cubecraft does not have as many of the classics as the Hive, it is just so incredibly rounded out with what it does have that it easily makes up for it. One classic that does make an appearance here though is the Minecraft staple, survival games. It is pretty much the same here as it is in most of the servers, and it is just as entertaining as other iterations also. Now there are a couple small things I want to mention you can do outside the minigames. Occasionally there is an event where you can collect multiple of certain items across the lobby map, but that is usually only around specific holidays. One thing you can always do though is the lobby parkour. Some of the lobbies have time parkour sections that go across the map, and there are quite a few fun little secrets that can be found in hidden areas also. So even if you're not playing the actual games themselves, there's still some fun stuff you can do. It is hard to choose between the Hive and Cubecraft for the honor of the best sponsored server. I am super nostalgic for Cubecraft, but the Hive was shockingly incredible. The Hive has nearly every single minigame you can possibly imagine, but Cubecraft has some of the definitive versions of said games. But in the end, I decided to give it to Cubecraft. Despite how much of a fight the Hive gave, there's still so many things Cubecraft has in its favor that make me want to return to it first. The fun of exploring lobbies, Skyblock, the best version of Bridges, the player atmosphere, everything just culminates into a definitive package. Am I going to continue playing more of the Hive in the future? Of course. Just because Cubecraft is my favorite does not mean there's not a lot of value in playing the Hive, but it looks like as of right now, Cubecraft is still on the top. There's one thing I need to bring up again. There's a new server called Enchanted Dragons in the Bedrock sponsored servers list. I do not think it's going to surpass Cubecraft because it seems to be going in a completely different direction compared to the other servers. But no matter what lies ahead in the next server, I at least hope it's going to be something fun. I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. If you made it this far, you probably did. So check out some of my other content and maybe even subscribe, perchance. That's gonna be it for now, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.